cell phones and how they have become ridiculously expensive. And I'm not going to have an answer for this problem, but I think it's definitely a problem that, we as a society should probably start thinking about. Because when I bought my first iPhone, it was the iPhone 4. And I paid a little over $200 for it, and that was with like a upgrade. And to me, that seemed pretty reasonable. I mean, I went from like a slide phone, it was a Cosmo. I went from that to an iPhone. So I was like, yeah, it's $200. It's not that bad of a price. And then I went and got my next one 2 years later, roughly, a little more. And it was the iPhone 6. And I paid probably around $600 for that one. And that was with like screen protectors and cases included and all of that. And then I purchased the iPhone 7 about a year ago, and I paid about $800 after everything was finished, including the case and the screen protectors and all that. And then, the iPhone X came out too, and that's $1,000. And what I'm trying to get at here is what are they putting in phones that warrant them increasing the price that much? I mean, yes, the iPhones now have, the sleeker design, they're thinner, their cameras are better. It seems the camera is like the main thing that gets better every year. And I'm sure there's other things that are hidden. But is it really hundreds of dollars worth of technology that they're putting into these phones? Because for me, I don't notice anything really different between each of these phones as far as how it runs. I mean, I'm sure the better phones, the newer ones, that is, process stuff faster. But to me, there is not anything in this phone that warrants it being 5 times that of the iPhone 4. I mean, maybe you guys have your own opinion about the iPhone X, and you maybe think that all the hidden stuff below is worth that much. But I've been in class before, like a big lecture hall class, and our professor has pointed this out that he's like, how many of you are willing to like buy the new iPhone like when it came out? You're like, oh, I want that now. And there was maybe a handful of students, and this is in a class size of 100 to 200 students. So not that many people were willing to, but I can tell you most of the people in the room had an iPhone is the thing. So, I mean, it's definitely coming down to an economic thing, which is, price and quantity demanded. And I think if cell phone companies aren't careful, they're heading to a point where people are going to start not buying new phones all the time because they're just so expensive. And they've made them so expensive now that they're doing payment plans, like paying like $50 a month to pay your phone off. And like to me, a cell phone being so small, really any piece of technology for me is something that you should be able to walk into a store, pay cash, and walk out with it and that be done with it. But now they're leaning, they're not just moving towards it, they're leaning into this idea of a payment plan for your phone. And I think that that's just completely ridiculous because as a society, we shouldn't encourage going into debt for something that you can't afford. You shouldn't look at something and be like, "Oh, well that's fine. You don't if you don't have the money for it now, you can just do a payment plan." That's not a smart idea and that's encouraging citizens to fall into debt, which is ridiculous. I mean, I understand they're a business and that's their primary goal is to make money, but I believe if you're a business, you should always care about the customer first while also making money. Your primary goal shouldn't be to make money. To me, a good business is one that cares about their customers and is willing to not necessarily jack up the price just to make more money. Now, I mean, I understand phones are a very highly demanded thing as of now, but I mean, ever since Steve Jobs died, Apple has not been able to create a product that is revolutionary and innovative. And that's their whole thing is they're innovative. And I'm just wondering when they are. Maybe eventually they're going to add something to it that everyone wants. I know everyone always complains about the battery life of these things, and I don't feel like the battery's ever improved in any of the phones. And that's the one thing everyone unanimously says, improve your battery, and they keep ignoring it. And then they get rid of the headphone jack, and everyone was like, we didn't say get rid of the headphone jack. We said a longer battery. So they're just doing stuff that like no one's asking for, and they aren't caring about their customer. And I mean that being said, this is a college student critiquing, a huge company that makes tons of money off of their devices. But what I'm trying to get at is why they are encouraging people to do payment plans for phones is beyond me. And why their phones, and it's not just Apple. I mean, I know Samsung's phones have risen greatly in price too. Why these phones are so much more expensive, I don't know. Because storage is fairly easy to incorporate in a phone at this point in technology. So the difference between like a 32 gigabyte and like a 128 gigabyte and so on really shouldn't add several $100s worth. But I mean, I'm thinking that that might be why, because I know iPhones back in the day didn't have that much storage, whereas the ones now have a lot of storage. But I mean, still, you have to sit down and wonder, is it worth it? And I mean, the only way that they're going to lower the price is if we, as like a society, decide, well, we're not really wanting your phones anymore because you've made them so expensive. We can't afford to just drop $1,000 on a phone. But the problem is they're so integrated into our society at this point, and old flip phones and slide phones and like Blackberries, all those things, they're almost like non-existent. They're for like the very elderly, almost it seems, who need to have a way to communicate in case there's an emergency of some sort to their family. So I mean, it kind of sucks because these companies have so much power over the individuals at this stage because cell phones have become essentially a necessity in life, especially, smartphones. Smartphones are essentially a needed thing in society by this point because of your access to the internet. And I mean, just being able to say, you're in the social norm of having a smartphone of some degree. I think it's definitely going to be interesting to see like how high the price gets before it fixes itself. I don't know. I think it's overpriced. Will I still get it? I can sit here and harp on it and complain a lot. I probably will end up getting an iPhone just because all my friends have iPhones, and it bothers me when I have friends that have Samsungs because when you put them in group chats, it sends it as a text message, and it annoys me because it doesn't go as fast. But I mean, I really like their products. I'm not saying the products are bad. What I'm saying is I think they're just trying to make as much money as possible. And I don't have respect for companies that do that to their clients. So to make a long story short, I think iPhone companies are exploiting the power they have right now over consumers, and that's true for Samsung as well. And they're trying to make every little bit of money they can because they know that their consumers have to have this. That being said, like, is there a solution? It's a solution that's impossible to achieve because it would involve people having to essentially give up their smartphones, which I'm guaranteeing you couldn't even get 10% of the population to not use their smartphone. So let alone a more significant portion of 20 or 30%. It's just not going to happen. And then, I mean, you have to factor in like their laptops and stuff. I mean, they're still going to make money. I think I think eventually Apple, especially, is going to get to a point where people aren't going to keep staying with them for the same old phone that's hundreds of dollars more because their whole thing is innovation and they haven't done anything innovative since Steve Jobs died. And without him, it seems they have run out of ideas because honestly, they haven't done anything like remotely good, in my opinion, in a long time. And I mean, that being said, they've done things that are certainly innovative, like removing the headphone jack, but that's a thing that I think it's innovative, but it's not big. And it certainly was not asked for. I mean, now I have to get a special headphones for my iPhone. I can't have headphones for my laptop that I'm using and my phone. So I have to have two separate pairs of headphones, which is kind of annoying, but I mean, they do provide you with the headphones, but my headphones broke and I had to buy a new pair, and they aren't cheap. The $30 for a pair of regular, just run of the mill iPhone headphones. So I mean, and yes, they provide you with the dongle, but the dongle is about like inch and a half long, so very easy to lose, as you can imagine. I think it'll be interesting to see what happens in the next couple of years as they release more phones, because I think people are going to get tired of them releasing the same thing with a different name attached to it, because that's basically what it is. It's the same thing with a different name. I mean, yes, the processing power is probably more, maybe the battery's a little longer, and maybe the camera's a little better, but regardless, I don't believe that warrants the huge increase in price. So I mean, what can we do about it? Not a whole lot, but it's definitely something to think about, and maybe they'll figure out that some of their people are unhappy with the price of their phones and they'll lower it back down, because I do believe it's a little ridiculous at how expensive it is. A laptop, a good laptop is $1,000 or more. They can go much higher. But the fact that I can buy a laptop for half, less than half of the price of an iPhone X is beyond mind-boggling, because a computer has a much better processing power, and you can do a lot more on a computer. I mean, you can get a computer that's touchscreen, doubles as a tablet for easily several $100s. I mean, mine's like $1,000, but you can easily get one for cheaper. And so, like, how they can justify charging $1,000 for an iPhone or even a Samsung phone, I don't know prices on that as much, but it's beyond me, because laptops are better, that you just can't call. That's basically it. Calling. I mean, you can text on MacBooks is the thing, so it's not like that's a big thing. And I mean, you can Skype and everything on laptops. So I mean, you have forms of communication. I just think it'll be interesting to see where both companies go, because I mean, they're both pretty even and they both kind of create the same thing with a different look, several different features, but not anything really worth noting. They're pretty even. I mean, sales wise, I think Samsung is actually ahead of Apple. It's relatively slim. I think the last time I checked, it was like something like 60% of the country, and this is not factual in any way. This is just me trying to remember. Like 60% of the country had like a Samsung phone, and then like 40%, generally speaking, had like an iPhone. But it's interesting to see where companies will go, especially tech companies, because tech companies are really the big companies in today's society, with technology being such the focus among people. But that'll do it for today, guys. Sorry it's been so long. I got really caught up with schoolwork and everything. And I mean, obviously, this is a small channel and no one's actually subscribed yet, but highly encourage you to subscribe. That's besides the point. And leave a like and tell me what else you guys would like me to talk about. But anyway, it's been pretty busy here at school lately. I had a lot of midterms to study for, so that's why I hadn't had a video in a while, and nothing really like in the news really caught my attention too much. This kind of just came to me when I was just sitting here, because I hadn't done one in a while, and I remember I had talked to some friends about this just recently, and thought maybe you guys would like to hear my opinion on this subject. It's definitely something to take a look at, but yeah, that'll be all for today. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, guys, and have a good day. Sorry it's been so long. I got really caught up with schoolwork and everything. And I mean, obviously, this is a small channel and no one's actually subscribed yet, but highly encourage you to subscribe. That's besides the point. And leave a like and tell me what else you guys would like me to talk about. But anyway, it's been pretty busy here at school lately. I had a lot of midterms to study for, so that's why I hadn't had a video in a while, and nothing really like in the news really caught my attention too much. This kind of just came to me when I was just sitting here because I hadn't done one in a while, and I remember I had talked to some friends about this just recently and thought maybe you guys would like to hear my opinion on this subject. It's definitely something to take a look at, but yeah, that'll be all for today. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, guys, and have a good day.